Hey guys, this is Pram bringing you the top 8 of Virginia State Championships. On our left we have Dean Nezam running Blastoise Keldeo, and on our right we have Bryan Zamora running Landorus, Garbador, and other basics. So this is going to be a pretty interesting matchup. It's really going to come down to whether Dean plays Tool Scrapper or not, I think. But yeah, we see Dean running a more traditional version of Blastoise Keldeo. He's not using any Black Kyurem, so he's just going in with the Secret Swords and just trying to go in for big damage with a lot of energy. A really tried and true version of Blastoise Keldeo. So Garbador is a deck that we've seen pop up a lot recently. With all these new cards that people wanted to add in, Black Kyurem, Verbank, lasers. People just had to cut certain cards, and what a lot of people ended up cutting was Tool Scrapper. And a lot of people knew this. So what ended up happening was people were like, hey, if you're not going to play any Tool Scrapper, I'll just play Garbador. And that's what we've been seeing here. So Garbador doing pretty well for itself, and Blastoise keeping the status quo of doing well in large numbers. But here we go. We see an Ultra Ball discarding 2 water. And that's good because you can just use energy retrieval to get it back. So it's always good to have at least 2 water in the discard. It just makes all your energy retrievals come online. We do see a energy onto the bench Keldeo, and it looks like he's just going to pass. So he does have a Colress in his hand. That card is very terrible early game. However, late game it becomes pretty nice sometimes. You can get like 10 cards at max, and then maybe, but it averages probably around 5, anywhere between 5 to 7 is what it generally gets once everyone's set up. But we do see a N coming out of Bryan, and he can be in a dangerous position with all these Landoruses in his deck. So he starts with a Landorus already, and he puts a Tool Scrapper on Landorus, an EXP share on Landorus. And that just indicates, hey, I have a lot of tools in my deck, or I know you don't play Tool Scrapper. So it's a interesting choice here, and we're gonna see how Bryan's board sets up from here. So he got to go first, which was pretty good for him, and he got a turn 1 energy on the Landorus. He's gonna get in there again, and his Landorus is safe for 1 more turn. So he's just really going to need just to build up some extra attackers on his bench going from here. So we do see a level ball, just going to get another Trubbish. And he's going to get 2 Trubbish on board, which makes it very difficult for Dean to even think about just going to catch your Garbadors out of the game strategy. It becomes much less viable when you get multiple Garbadors out, which really emphasizes why Tool Scrapper is so important. So, we even see max potions in Bryan's hand. So his deck is really coming together for us. We do see Dean have a Squirtle. He has another energy. He has another Squirtle. Though in this matchup, you don't actually want to bench too many Squirtles. You really just want to get your 1 Blastoise out, maybe. He's going to counter the Verbank with his Tropical Beach. And that's going to let him do a lot of cool things. So he looks like he's just gonna beach for 3 here, and just kind of hope his opponent doesn't get a Garbador online. He might want to so he's Skyla's here. He might want to consider getting Tool Scrapper if he has it, but it looks like he doesn't. He looks like he opted for more of a Super Scoop Up engine, which is good in Keldeo, no doubt about that. You know, Super Scoop Up can swing a lot of games in your favor. However, it's a little risky, especially opting to not take Tool Scrapper into the deck list in favor of Super Scoop Up. So he was really hoping to not play any Garbador, and here we are. He's in the situation where, you know what, I was just hoping to avoid you all day. Unfortunately, here we are, and let's see how this works out for me. And so we do see Bryan's hand not have too much. He does have a Garbador. He does have a Ultra Ball. But does he have? He doesn't have a tool. It looks like he has 2 switches, Ultra Ball, Max Potion. His hand is actually just dead. He's gonna have to beach here for 4. It looks like he's gonna beach for 4 here, and this could get dangerous really fast. What Dean should do here is he should just knock out the Trubbish. He plays another energy. Oh, it looks like he's gonna go for 7. He's gonna beach for 7. But well, let's see. If Bryan gets another Landorus and puts it into play, I think Dean just goes after Landorus at that point. But we'll see what Bryan chooses with Ultra Ball. He goes for another Trubbish. So at this point, I do not mind knocking out Trubbish. Save your catchers for the Landoruses. It only has 1 energy. You can kind of deal with it, and you don't want to take prizes too early. You want to get your deck thinned out kind of nice before N comes into the picture. So let's see if Dean can pull out a Blastoise this turn. It's going to be pretty big. He can use some super scoop ups this turn to heal that Keldeo that does have 60 damage on it. But he looks like he's going to not do that, which is a good choice, I think. Save your super scoop ups for the turns you really need it on. And he's just going to end both players to 6. So we'll see Bryan get -1 card. Dean gets a fresh hand. N is really a defining card, or has been for the past 2 years now. So it's at least it's so good. Like so many games, End game I just decided by N, and it's such a strong early game. Shuffle your hand, draw 6, very very good. But we do see Dean get Blastoise. He has a Juniper, Retrieval, a bunch of energies. No Rare Candy Blastoise. If he got Rare Candy Blastoise and just powered everything up, I don't think he could have lost this game. But here we go. He didn't work out completely, but he'll at least get a prize. And as long as Bryan doesn't have double Garbador out with double Scrapper, double tools, and Dean doesn't have Scrapper, then this is gonna be really in Bryan's favor. He does have a laser here, so looks like he got a Tails, and that's gonna the math that won't work out too bad as long as Verbank doesn't hit the field. We're seeing a bunch of switches just leave. I think that's like 3 switch, which is pretty huge, leaving from Bryan's hand. It's like I don't think he's like expecting defensive catchers at all. Well, that might be 2. So unless he plays Escape Rope, he's running out of switch cards very quickly. So we do see another Landorus. Oh no, that's a Terrakion. The glare kind of got it, but so that's an interesting card choice to put in the deck. Terrakion. It kind of gets energies onto the field, which is okay. It doesn't do too much damage, but it kind of it's nice. I don't know how well I feel about the Terrakion in the deck. It's okay, I guess. Did he went for a second Hypnotic Beam or Laser? I keep calling it Beam. I just like the name. Hypnotic Beam just rolls off nice for me. But weird choice. He really wants that Keldeo asleep. He knows he can't get rushed in. He knows his Landorus is going to get knocked out. But he kind of had to expect that. At the very least, he's going in for 60. And the Squirtle takes 30 damage. So he's doing a good amount of damage here. That Keldeo is going to return to him at 120 damage, and the Terrakion's going to just knock it out. So he's going to end up in pretty good shape here, unless Dean can get another Tropical Beach. This format is slowly turning into a Stadium War format, which, you know, Tropical Beach and Verbank have been the real two front runners of stadiums. You know, you can see sometimes Sky Arrow coming from electric decks, but generally it's Verbank and Tropical Beach. You know, we might see like an increase of Plasma Frigate if fire becomes too popular for Kling Klang. It's a really nice counter to the fire decks. You know, it forces them to have the counter stadium and have a fire attacker. So if Kling Klang ever blows up, but yeah. So there's these just like cute little plays here. He's gonna take 2 prizes here, go down to 3, and he's just kind of hurting here. His opponent's gonna have 2 Garbadors online. He's going to take another prize with the Terrakion, or 2 prizes with the Terrakion. It's really shaky from here on out for Dean. It's really just coming down to not running Tool Scrapper. If he ran Tool Scrapper, I think the game is just automatically his. But because he doesn't, it's just so shaky. But yeah, we're just going to see a Terrakion knock out a Keldeo. We don't really see that too often, but the swordsman Pokemon are pretty strong, so we do. I see Bryan has a heavy ball. Yeah, he's kind of mulling his options over. He really should just evolve at this point. He gets a Landorus. Yeah, he chooses for Landorus, or I think that's Landorus. I can't tell with the glare. But yeah, it is fine, really. He does have another Hypnotic Laser in his hand. He puts an EXP share on the Landorus and ends, giving his opponent 3 cards and giving Bryan 6. Here's where N really starts to come into the picture and really start dominating the flow of the game. You're going to see Dean just really trying to draw into supporters here, but his odds are just low because he's only drawing 3 cards. He's already used a few supporters. Whereas Bryan, drawing a fresh 6, is going to have board control, and it's really could snowball out of very quickly. But we do see Colress coming out of Dean's hand, so this could be a cool turn of events. He could play his hand down, Colress. Very cool. So we do see a Garbador come down. He puts a second tool on the Garbador, kind of a no fear on Tool Scrapper kind of thing. He doesn't have another EXP share in his hand, I believe. But he even is going to bench another Pokemon. Yeah, he benches another Landorus. So he knows that if another Keldeo comes online and starts smacking him pretty hard, then the game might just be over. So Dean here, considering what he's going to push up, I really think he should push up the Squirtle. It's not going to do him too much. He really needs to get more energies on the field. So he's just going to attach and use Colress here. Oh, he uses Catcher, Defensive Catcher. Probably should do it on a Landorus, but he might go for a Garbador. Yeah, Garbador is also a safe play. He really just wants to set up, buy some time. So he's going to get 5 cards here. The Landorus would be nice because like you don't really mind them attacking you too much. Actually, you kind of do. Well, the Keldeo's at 60 damage right now, so it would go to 90, and then Terrakion would just knock it out. So the first things you have to deal with is you just need some time to set up. So he's going to need to buy like 2 turns here, and we'll see if Bryan has the switch. And he has to have an energy for Landorus, so that's 2 important factors. But it doesn't look like Bryan has either. He does have a Catcher. And, he does have an energy, so he's going to attach to the Terrakion. He has a Juniper. He's going to Catcher up the Keldeo, and he's just going to Juniper here. And let's see how this works out for him. And we do see a switch even. So this, everything is just falling apart for Dean here. He's going to switch out for the Terrakion. If he has a Hypnotic Laser, the game is almost over. We do see a Hypnotic Laser, and that's just going to put him to sleep. And I don't even know what Dean can do from here. It's so rough. He's really just gonna have to catch her like a Garbador or something, and just pray nothing happens with an N. But we do see another Squirtle come down. We see an Energy and a defensive catcher come in, and it's just gonna be a pass. And does Bryan even have a switch left? Ooh, this could get... This is a really funny situation. Does he even have switch? He's used a lot of them. 3 or at least 3. I'm not sure, maybe 4. He's really considering his options. He's almost out of deck, so he can't really Juniper. If he doesn't have a switch left or a escape rope, then the game is actually just over. I can't imagine him. He's playing all these trainer cards. He doesn't look like he plays too many energy. He looks like he's out of laser. He has some defensive catchers he can use. He has a Juniper. He's going to play down another Landorus. Just kind of going all in on the Landorus strategy, which is fine. And he looks like he's just going to Juniper here? Is that what he does here? He just Junipers? No, you would want to Colress here. You would Colress here for 6 and just take your new 6. Maybe you'll see something. But what do you do here as Bryan? Like, if he's out of switch, then the game might just be over, because then all Dean has to do is go, hey, I'm going to build a 3 energy Keldeo. I'm going to knock out your Garbador, and then I'm going to catch your Landorus, and that's game. And that's how this game is going to flow out if Bryan cannot retreat or do any of those sort of things. So yeah, a big drawback for Bryan here though was he attached energy to not active. Big mistake here. So how this could flow out is really up in the air. We're just going to see more energy on to the Squirtle. He might try to build up a Blastoise, which is fine too. So we do see the last laser, I believe, get used up. And we might even see a Blastoise come out, which would be cool. Energy retrieval comes in, and just getting a 3rd energy on the Squirtle. And he's just going to go in there with Squirtle's attack here. Gets the heads for 30 damage. And yeah, can Bryan do anything else? If this Blastoise comes into play, that might be a lethal Blastoise. It just hits all he has to do is hit Rare Candy, I believe. I think he already has a Blastoise in his hand. Hits Rare Candy, knocks out the Garbador, catches up Landorus, that's game. And there's nothing Bryan can do about it unless he builds up another Landorus. Or rather, unless he builds up a 150 Landorus, would be more accurate. So how will he deal with this situation? He's a bunch of catchers that aren't going to do anything. He just passes. Dean draws an N. He's going to attach his 4th energy to the Squirtle. Really just prepping that Blastoise. So just giving himself as many options as he can to win the game. And it looks like he ends here. Yeah, nice choice. Really limiting, just limiting Bryan's options down to 1. While increasing Dean's card choice. His cards weren't really doing anything, so maybe he'll draw a Juniper or something off these 3. And really just take the game back. So yeah, I think this game really came down to Bryan just not having good card management. If he had saved those lasers, maybe things would be different. But it looks like the answer is no, it is not going to be different. He opts to not even attach energy. if he just attached energy to the Landorus, game would be perfectly fine. Like, what is Dean gonna do? Knock out the Garbador? That, or you at least attach it to Garbador, and then your Garbador doesn't just get automatically knocked out for free. At least you can start building towards a retreat, which is going to be a win. But we do see Blastoise come in, and here is the game. There's nothing Bryan can do about this because he did not attach energy to anyone, and he just still stared down his 2 energy hand, which was actually just game over for Dean if Bryan attached. But in a sudden reversal, we are seeing really just Blastoise get in there for game, and Dean is going to take this. Yeah, Dean, there's nothing Bryan can do. He's just gonna do pump up smash, do 90, put 2 on the Landorus, and go, hey, well, maybe one day this Landorus will attack. But Dean is not gonna let that happen with the catcher in Dean's hand. So yeah, that's just game over. So we'll just going through the motions here. We're gonna see Dean win game 1 in a very surprising fashion with 0 Tool Scrapper in his deck. Bryan showing the scramble switch, it had something, but Pokemon is really just a game of who can make the least amount of mistakes, and it's little things like that last energy attachment, which really ends up showing who will win and who will lose. So Dean wins game 1, and we'll shuffle up to see who's going to come out in top game 2. But let's kind of... So this matchup is pretty... I think it was pretty obviously in Bryan's favor. The Garbador shutting everything down is pretty big. Blastoise is a deck that if you can't use Deluge, the deck isn't that good. It's actually pretty terrible. But he somehow managed to pull out a win despite that, simply because Bryan plays Landoruses, and that is pretty fatal. Let's look at what Dean knocked out. He knocked out a Trubbish, a Garbador, and 2 Landoruses. That's it. So as a result, that cost Bryan the game, and it's really just like, can Dean knock out enough Landoruses if Bryan so chooses to play them all down? And can Bryan get the lockout fast enough before Dean gets rolling? So those are the real two points of the matchup. And yeah, it's really just all on how well Bryan draws and how well he plays the matchup. And Dean just kind of is just I'm going to put energies down, I'm going to attack, and if you win, you win. If you lose, you lose. We'll just kind of see how the cards play out. And that's really all Dean can do. So, we'll see on how Bryan will respond to this. He's kind of learned Dean's deck list in game 1. He's kind of figured out that, Dean does not play any Tool Scrapper. So, should be interesting. Let's see. While these players are setting up, fun fact about Dean: he made top 4 at Worlds this year in Seniors Division. He just aged up. Lost to, it might have been top 8. Anyways, top 8, top 4, something like that. So he already has his invite. Just playing to, win state championships, get that cash prize. But yeah, he just aged up and is doing really well for himself. I think he's practically he's close to like 700, 800 points. So he might have just gotten like a double invite. But we do see a Colress. And this is like the huge downside of playing Colress. And this is one of the reasons why I actually just don't like the card. Getting Colress for 2, having your only supporter be Colress turn 1, you're just kind of like dead. Like, look at this. This is terrible unless Dean somehow miraculously drew a Juniper, or Bryan just goes, here you go, have an N, then it's going to be quite rough. So we do see a Garbador come out turn 2 for Bryan. Can't really ask for more than that. And he has a Verbank, he has a Juniper, and if he can get a laser, then that Squirtle's dead. The Terrakion is going to get powered up. He does get the laser. This game is kind of over. We're going to go on to game 3 pretty shortly. Probably, unless Dean somehow drew like an N or something off these 2 cards. Which is, possible. Not probable, but it's possible. I suppose we also run the possibility of Bryan just playing N. But he draws a Tropical Beach, so that's going to save him a little bit. But Bryan is on life support. But did I see 2 Switch get discarded with the Juniper? And we might be running into this situation again where, funny enough, Bryan just can't retreat. You just can't retreat his Garbador. And as a result, you just kind of sit there going, well, one day I'll attack. And Dean's like, well, one day my guys will one-shot everyone. So it's really just, what's going to happen first? Will Dean get an attack route first? Or will Bryan get a switch? And if he does get a switch, he also has to compete with other catchers. So, this situation is not looking good for Bryan. Dean definitely is going to outnumber him in catcher versus switch. So eventually this is just going to stick. And Dean, interesting enough, Dean could just take the I'm going to deck you route, too. It would be kind of fun. But, yeah, we do see a catcher here, and he's going to end. I guess he's going for I'm going to use another laser to knock out your Squirtle, or he can draw maybe an energy and switch, which would be another valid option. Interesting that he's dropping all these Trebuchets. He's really just trying to thin out his deck, but in doing so, he's not really playing around Colress all that much. He knows his opponent uses Colress. So, things like that. Colress is now going to get for 4 cards, and if Dean decides to add any to the Dean's bench, then it'll get more, obviously. But so we do see a Mewtwo, some energies, and energy retrieval, Skyla. Decent hand from Dean. Whereas we do see a second energy. Does he have a switch to go with this? And the answer is no, he does not. And yeah, we're just gonna see a pass, or rather a Tropical Beach, but yeah. So Dean here, now he can just build up some guys. And things like Terrakion is really the reason why you want to play Black Kyurem. Like, even in this situation, he could literally potentially spend like just 4 turns building up Black Kyurem energy, and then just attack with Black Kyurem on the Terrakion. Maybe spend 5 turns, 6 turns. Yeah, probably. Let's see. If you go to 6, you would go to 3. Yeah, 6 turns building up Black Kyurem, and then just go. Okay, on my 7th turn, I'll go ahead and attach my 7th energy, attack, go down to 4. Nah, you can actually do it on your 6th turn. Yeah, 6 energy, attack, go down to 3. Next turn, attack, or attach, attack, go down to 2. And then you only have to, like, scrounge up 2 prizes with Keldeo. It's very doable. So, what do we do here, Zane? He attaches energy to Keldeo, and he looks like he's thinking about what to do here. So, yeah, it's really just gonna come down to whether Bryan can draw a switch or not, is really gonna determine how much time he has. So here we go. Will what will Dean do from here? It looks like they had some kind of discussion, but it looks like that's been resolved. So no, it's Bryan's turn. He's gonna drop another laser, and yep, that Squirtle's is gonna be done for. In which case, if you're Dean, would have been better to just attach to the Mewtwo. Interesting. I kind of like the Mewtwo attachment more. You know, you haven't seen a DCE out of Bryan all game. You see Terrakion, Landorus, you kind of just know he's probably not running DCE. So if he's not running DCE at that point, you know he's not running Mewtwo. So I think I like the Mewtwo attachment more. You know, you can really deal with the Terrakion at that point for a very low cost. At that point, you could have put 2 energy on Mewtwo, catch up Terrakion, hit it for 80. Terrakion kind of just stays there, and you really just knock out the Terrakion next turn with a 3rd energy. And what does Bryan do from there? He just kind of like, he can hit you for 50, build up a Landorus, maybe get an EXP share on it. Or if he doesn't get the Landorus or EXP share, then he actually just loses the game to a Mewtwo. So it's very interesting on how that works out. Oh, the laser doesn't actually knock out the Squirtle because no Verbank, of course. So that's pretty huge. You know, I really would have saved that laser in that case. Then, you know, sure, it put some pressure on the Squirtle, and I don't think the Squirtle is leaving. But even then, he could have rare candied Blastoise if he wanted to. It just seems a little premature. But you know, it's not that bad. It'll get knocked out next turn because it'll go to 5, and then at the end of Bryan's turn it'll be at 6, which is a knockout. No one plays War Turtles, so I guess it's okay. I probably would have saved it though, just for maybe a better spot, because you never know when you're going to need those lasers for like the Keldeo, the Mewtwo. It can just get tricky. So it looks like he's just going to beach for 1. And yeah, so now the Squirtle is at 5. It's going to get knocked out after Bryan sets up some more cards. But it looks like still no switch. And that is pretty crucial. And now what we're running into is, does Dean sacrifice another Squirtle? Or maybe he'll send up... You have the 2 energy on the Keldeo, right? So, assuming you're going to have access to energy, once the Squirtle dies, do you just send up the Mewtwo and attach to Mewtwo? I think you do. That would be... I think I like that move a lot, actually. Because then you'll be at a 3 energies total. I think Dean runs Scramble Switch. Yeah, so... in which case, you could 2 energy on Mewtwo, that would be 5 or 4 energy in play, 3rd energy on Keldeo, you know, you could, plays the Landorus down. Interesting. What do you do here if you're Dean then? Do you just take the 2 prizes off Landorus, get hit by Terrakion? Interesting choices. Puts the EXP share on Landorus. He even has a switch to go with this, but he's going to need to hold that just in case. He has the Juniper here. He's going to want to hold this switch. You know, he really needs to hold on to this. Nope, he opts to not hold on to the switch. He's going for Juniper here. And he's just going to pump up Smash, which he actually gets 2 fighting off it. So, pretty fortunate for him. And he gets a catcher. He got everything he needed. Gets more Landorses in play. He's going to do 90. This Keldeo is pretty much done for this world, unless we're just going to have to see a defensive catcher. He really just needs more time to build up energies. That or he needs to play a scramble switch. One or the other. And this is... He gets the third energy on the Keldeo. And what will he do here? He has an N. He plays down another Squirtle. He has another Tropical Beach. He has some retrievals. But he's just going to end here. He's really hoping for a catcher. Or if he can get, like... Honestly, this is so tough. He really need... I guess he does need a scramble switch. So... Yeah, you know... This is a really tough spot for Dean. He can't really do anything. We're really just seeing the way this matchup is generally played out. Garbador just kind of sets up. Blastoise can't do anything. And Garbador just kind of moseys on through for a win. However, we have seen a lot of switches go to Bryan's discard. So if Dean can muster up a catcher, then he'll be in great shape. But it looks like he's just going to Secret Sword, and that is not going to end up well for Dean. But, you know, we could always see a catcher come back, you know, just catcher up a Garbador, build up a Blastoise or a Keldeo. Probably has to be Keldeo because of the Landoruses. And then you eventually just come back. You could see maybe a catcher onto the. Actually, Mewtwo would work too. You could X-ball the Terrakion, and then X-ball Landoruses. Get a Keldeo scramble switch kind of deal going on, and then yeah, you'll be good to go. So. Let's see how Dean responds to this. He's going to Ultra Ball here. Probably get a Keldeo. Yep. There it is. And now we're just going to see him build up some energy onto the Keldeo. Or the Mewtwo. We'll see. He's going to go for the Keldeo. He sees 4 prizes on the field. And he just Junipers here. Well, that's fine. There's a Scramble Switch. He gets the catcher that he needs to buy a lot of time. And here we go. We're just going to sit here for a while and let Dean build some energy up. Now, if Bryan can get the switch here, he'll be in great shape. So, we'll just see what can happen. He does have Max Potion, a bunch of supporters in his hand. And we're just going to see a Tropical Beach. So, what can Bryan do? He has some energy. He's going to build up enough for a Land Judgment. But, it's really just coming down to I've discarded and used all my switches. I can't do anything. I'm just going to set up for the inevitable. You're going to try and kill me move, and then we'll see from there how this works out. However, in that case, you know, Dean can also just go, hey, if I build up 2 Keldeos, you lose the game. So, we'll see how this works out for both players. We do see N, Juniper. I think he has catcher. He has so many cards in his hand. He might want to just N, but he's gonna catcher here. Gets the Keldeo, and he Junipers away everything. He gets rid of all his N's, Bianca, and he's just saying, you know what? I don't need these cards anymore. He hits the Scramble Switch too, and he has a laser. He might want to wait on a turn and just go a Scramble Switch Land Judgment. Actually, because like if Dean has a catcher, then that could end up bad. But he's gonna laser here. He's gonna need to get that extra damage on, and gets Tails. Not a big deal. He was really just going for the poison. And I think at this point you just beach. You just beach here, you save the Scramble Switch, and you do a big Land Judgment next turn. That, or actually, yeah. Well, he's gonna Scramble Switch. He's gonna send up the Trubbish, and he's gonna put Scramble Switch back on top. So, actually, a nice move there. Really gets the energy off the Trubbish, which will be very nice. And that'll set up for 2 Land Judgments. So at this point, I think Bryan has this all but locked up. But the Scramble Switch is now being shuffled back into the deck. He's only going to get 4 cards. He's discarded a ton of supporters, so he might be out of options. But we'll see if Dean can muster up the forces he needs to really just pull this game back into his favor. He's going to need a second energy on the active Keldeo. He's really going to have to go all in with it. Just kind of like catcher up a Landorus, knock it out, hope your Keldeo doesn't get knocked out, and then maybe Scramble Switch of your own. That, or you can build up the bench Keldeo, or you can build up the I kind of like building up the bench one, and you have the Super Scoop up. But we'll see how Dean decides to play this out. So he does build up the bench Keldeo. He's going to level ball for probably just a Squirtle then on his deck, or he gets nothing, and this is going to beach. Yeah, he just gets nothing. And his opponent is going to be able to do a lot of damage next turn. Drawing an energy isn't that much of a stretch for Bryan here. So we could see a Land Judgment coming in, and that would be very devastating. He even redraws the Scramble Switch. What a baller. Things can't really go much better. He has a Scramble Switch, a Bianca. He's going to Scramble Switch into the Landorus, play some cards down. Bianca, maybe if he gets another energy, then he'll have a second Landorus ready to go. Actually, he doesn't even have to. He can just retreat and attack with Landorus here, or Terrakion here. And that's perfectly fine. That would be the better play. Hold the Scramble Switch for a turn you really need it on. Dean is really backed into a wall. It's really like, well, what do you do? Your active Keldeo is going to get dominated by the Terrakion. If you knock out the Terrakion, energies go on to the Landoruses, and you just lose to a laser Verbank. And then if you knock out a Landorus, same scenario, but Terrakion's still alive. So it's very tricky on what Bryan. I don't think Bryan can lose this game. He's just set up so well. Landoruses can beat Keldeos. It just takes a while. But we are just going to see a retreat for the Terrakion, most likely. Or we could see a... No. Yeah, he goes up for the Terrakion. I was thinking about maybe sending up the Landorus and just going 30-30 onto the Keldeos. And that way you don't need the Laser Verbank combo. But I don't think it matters, really. So he's going to take 100 damage here, which is going to put him at 120? No. Yeah, 120. So, nothing really Dean can do to get out of this situation. He's going to try and build up his guys. He will be able to Secret Sword this turn and just kind of hope nothing bad happens. He has a Scramble Switch here. Yeah, I think he might just use Scramble Switch here. I kind of like that. Scramble Switch, Super Scoop up the active or the damaged Keldeo, pick it back up so it just doesn't get sniped off. Maybe catcher a Landorus and just kind of cross your fingers and hope nothing bad happens, because then you can, the next turn, you can put an energy on the Mewtwo and catcher up the other Landorus, and then he's just left with the Terrakion, which X-Ball will knock it out. So there is a path for a victory here for Dean. and he really just has to play for it. It really just going to have to come down to scramble switch. Hope nothing bad happens. Hope your Keldeo does not get one-shotted. That's the important part. And if it doesn't, if it survives the turn, then you can knock out another Landorus. So he scramble switches into the Keldeo. Plays catcher. Yep. And Dean's doing this so well. He's played this matchup to the best of his ability. You really can't do much more given the cards he's drawn and the situation he's been dealt. But double tails on Super Scoop Up, a little bit of a downer, but still fine. He's going to take 2 prizes here, and now can Bryan get the energy he needs to use Land Judgment? Will it happen? And he also needs to have a Hypnotic Laser and a Verbank, all off the few cards remaining in his deck. Now, if he has those cards available to him, and this is where conserving the lasers would have been very huge earlier for situations like these, then, will it happen? So he does have a Skyla, but I don't think he has a Verbank or a laser in his hand. He's kind of going through his discard going, oh man, I've used a lot of stuff. But he has a... what's that back card? Is that a laser? Is that a laser? I can't tell. The card behind Rescue Scarf. I don't think it's a laser. So he's going to Skyla here. Skyla is his 4-card deck. Gets the laser. So he's down to 3 cards left. This is actually another interesting scenario. What if Bryan just decks? Does he have an N left? No. Ooh, he can't knock out this Keldeo. Oh, wow. So the dream situation for Dean is happening right here. We see a laser, and he has to get heads here. It has to be heads. And it is, I believe. Is it heads? No. It's tails. So, dream scenario for... oh, no, it is heads. Oh, that's so huge. Scramble switches. Sends up onto the new Landorus, which is still okay. Well, does he have a catcher? No, he has a Rescue Scarf, Bianca, and if... I wonder if Dean just catches up Garbador here. Does Dean just win? Gets tails, though. Wow. If Dean got heads here, I think the game is over. Actually, I'm just sure the game is over. Game is 100% over. But, wow. What a turn of events. If Dean had gotten heads, what that implies is that means that Keldeo wakes up, knocks out the active Landorus, and then he can put an energy on the Mewtwo, and then all he has to do is catcher. No. That would only do 60 to the Terrakion. Questionable. Would have been close. But actually, you know what he could do? Let's see. Bryan only has 3 cards in his hand. He has 3 cards in his deck. He can win in 2 turns if he plays N here. That all depends on whether yeah. I think Dean can deck Bryan. It just depends whether he has a switch left. If he's out of switches, then the game is over. Let's see. Use a bunch of catchers, and yeah, I wonder how this is going to work out. We do see... I really like N here. I really, really like N here. Actually, you know, it probably doesn't matter. If he has the switch, he has the switch in his deck. So you really, I guess you just want more cards. Yeah, I would probably just Juniper. Yeah. But he goes for... he kind of sees the option that, hey, you might deck. But, I like the I think I like the Juniper more. And the reason being is it lets you look for your catcher much more efficiently. Oh, but Tropical Beach is also in play, so there's that to consider too. So, yeah, can't really go wrong from this. Making Bryan have less cards in his deck. So Dean sees this probability. And he sees that this, yes, you know, it sucks that I stayed asleep. However, I can still win this game. So he's going to beach here. And does Bryan have a switch? He has a catcher. He has a Trubbish. I know he has a Bianca in his deck. So there's Bianca. So he's going to beach here. There's another Rescue Scarf. Bryan is at 1 card remaining in his deck. He has a catcher and energy. Oh, the game could be over. Did Dean just kind of squeak another win out due to really a card management mishap? You know, in this format, you don't really deck yourself unless like you did something wrong, like you just went like got the red in the eyes and you just went all out. But it's really what this last card's gonna be. So, but if Bryan gets a switch off the 2 prizes, that'll also be like a important factor. That or an N. But it looks like as game state as of right now, the game is over. And it was EXP share and energy, I think. Oh my! Does Dean have a catcher? Does he have the catcher? Does he just win the game right here? I think, unless that last card in Bryan's deck is a energy card, then, or I'm sorry, a switch or something. It's a switch? Oh, he even had the switch. Oh, wow. Wow. That's so crucial. And another crucial factor was if Dean had ever flipped heads on Super Scoop Up, this scenario never happens either. Wow. That sucks for Dean. You know, he played the best of his ability, but at the end the flips just didn't work out his way. He never got a Super Scoop Up heads on that crucial damage on Keldeo. He didn't wake up, which was another big hit. And Bryan, you know, he would have had the switch anyways. However, yeah, if Dean actually just woke up or flipped heads, the game was just over. And that's unfortunate for Dean, but good for us. We get to see a Game 3 coming out. Dean is going to get to go first. You know, maybe this game he'll be able to pull it out, or will Bryan with the I still think it's the overwhelmingly favorite in this matchup, just due to no Tool Scrapper. However, remember guys, this is a 60-minute match, so we only got like 10 minutes-ish, something like that, left in the round. So Game 3 probably won't finish. It's who's favored early. It really, Dean gets to go first. If he gets to turn 2 Blastoise and like turn 2 Secret Sword, I think the game is just over. Dean just wins hands down because it'll just go up like 2-3 prizes, and then Bryan can't really cope with that. Not within the amount of time he has left. So, yeah, Dean, for those people rooting for Blastoise, Dean still in it. For those rooting for Garbador, cross your fingers and just hope Dean doesn't blow up, is really what this is going to come down to. yeah, it's just going to come down to how fast this Blastoise set up, and yeah, I mean, these players are taking a lot of time to shuffle, especially, time management has not been on their mind at all. So that's really just a tournament skill people have to pick up when time is so restricted like this. Dean kind of knows. I feel like Dean's body reactions knows what's going on here. He knows what he needs to do, and he knows. Let's see. So let's see, 6 cards, and now he's just placing his prizes. Going to get a mulligan card. He's going second, but he starts with the Landorus. Really, your best starter for this situation. Well, maybe it depends if Dean gets a turn 2 Blastoise or not. So he sees Squirtles. Oh, no, Dean. You start with the worst hand, the worst no supporter hand, game 3, and then you're just kind of dead. Well, you had a good run, Dean. Burbank Laser, turn 1. I think he just ripped the laser, too. Wow. Pretty good. EXP share. And it looks... He gets the poison counter. He even has Juniper. Poor Dean. He didn't get what he needed, and now we're just gonna see a Landorus kind of roll over him for game. No energy though. So I don't know. I don't know if that'll matter. We might have to see a defensive catcher come out of Dean right away, though. He's going to have to retreat the Squirtle. Can't let it stay active. That's for sure. There's no energy coming out of Bryan. So it's just going to be a pass for 30. We see a draw from Dean. He's going to have to retreat here. He has to retreat. Catchers... Retreats, yeah. Kind of like accepting his situation, just attaches to the active Squirtle. No reason not to, really. There's no reason to not attach, because then at the very least you can get the second energy into your discard for your retrieval in your hand. So, but here we go. Heavy Ball gets a Garbador, and I think he has another tool in his hand to go with this Garbador. All he needs, if he can get tool, laser, energy, switch, then the game is over. And he has the switch. He's gonna thin his deck down with Ultra Ball. So, yep. Thins his deck down, probably just gets another Landorus or something. And then he's just gonna Juniper again. The Junipers have been well for Garbador of this game. Clearly, when you're about to deck yourself, that's when you know you've had a pretty good game. But yeah, so we're just gonna see Ultra Ball here, and the game actually just could be over right here. If he hits laser, tool, and energy, then the game is over. But I expect to see a Landorus for this Ultra Ball. You really want to put on the early aggression. It looks like he's going to get a Terrakion, though. No, he gets the Landorus. So he's going to be in pretty good shape. I mean, I can't see Bryan losing this game, especially with this much time left. He's set up every game turn 2 Garbador, I think. I think it was like every game turn 2 to Garbador. Might have been turn 3 game 1, something like that. But, yeah. Dean's fought back every game, except for this one where, sometimes with Blastoise, you just draw bad. And that's just the way it is. And, it sucks, but it just happens. So we do see a Rescue Scarf. Does he have the laser to go with this? It looks like the answer is no. But won't matter too much. He's gonna 30-30, take one prize, and Dean has to draw something here. If he draws N. Actually, I won't do much because he's the Garbador came down. Like, Dean can't do anything now. If it happened last turn, Dean was on his way to victory. But now, what can you do? You really, I mean, the only two cards here that will save Dean is Scramble Switch into Keldeo. He has to hit those two cards right here, or there's just no coming back. It's hit these two cards, or yeah, that's it. So we'll see. He has a Mewtwo, Keldeo, Energy, Scramble Switch, no Scramble Switch. And now this is where things get painful. He's going to drop down the Keldeo, Mewtwo. He has an Ultra Ball, Energy, and Colress. 2 energies in Colress. You know, Bryan has a laser even. Got that off the prize. And now we're just going to see the yeah. He's going to retreat, try to conserve his energy. No, I don't really like that too much. Reason being is that, yeah, I don't know if I like that too much. Maybe if he had a Tool Scrapper in his deck, but you guys know, and he knows, and everyone watching this game and playing in this game knows, there's no Tool Scrapper in Dean's deck. Absolutely zero. So, that's not going to do too much. And, yeah, I think the game is pretty much over at this point. We see another Hypnotic Laser come down, and we're just going to see a massive Landorus poke. He really should just Colress here. He has Colress and N. He really should just Colress here. There we go. It's going to get 8 new cards. Very nice plus here. And he's also going to want to knock out that Squirtle. So he's going to. So that Mewtwo is going to go to 6. It'll come back to 9. And then I really think you just power up another Landorus. He even has the Scramble Switch if he needs to knock something out. So he knocks out the Squirtle. Mewtwo should be at 6 here, but he tries to wake up. He has a catcher. He really needs the Colress here. Or, yeah, he Colresses. I think he should have catchered first. Not that it matters. I don't think it matters. You know, and again, this is one of no. Bryan had a switch, so the catcher wouldn't have done anything. And then, yeah, one of these unfortunate situations. Really got to press the issue for maybe 75-minute time limits, but yep. Congratulations, Dean. You made top 8, and congratulations to Bryan. You go on to the top 4. So we'll see you guys then.